Today, we're going to talk about a feeling, that low-grade hum of dark anxiety in the background of your life, that sense that something is fundamentally wrong, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is. We're constantly told we live in an age of unprecedented progress. We have instant access to all the world's information, technologies that would seem like magic to our ancestors, and the ability to connect with people across the globe. We should be happy and thriving, right? But what if this very progress has a dark side? What if it's created a new kind of collective ailment? This is a condition that some philosophers and economists have called industrial hypochondria. Now, we're not talking about the medical condition of hypochondria. This is more of a philosophical metaphor for a widespread societal state of being. It's a state of constant self-diagnosis, of anxiously scanning our world and ourselves for symptoms of decay, all while feeling increasingly powerless to do anything about it. In researching this topic, I've found that there are 4 key symptoms of this societal trend. First on the list is what you might call the progress paradox or existential anxiety. The idea of progress has been a driving force in Western society for centuries. The belief is that through reason, science, and technology, we can create a better future, and in many ways, we have. But what if the engine of progress has become a runaway train? The German sociologist Hartmut Rosa calls this social acceleration. Life is getting faster. Our work, our communication, our very sense of time is constantly speeding up. We're in a state of what he calls frenetic standstill, where we're always busy, always optimizing, but we have no sense of where we're actually going, thus creating a deep-seated existential anxiety. Soren Kierkegaard, one of the fathers of existentialism, talked about anxiety as the dizziness of freedom. That's the overwhelming sense of possibility that can be both exhilarating and terrifying. Today, it seems we are dizzier than ever. We're bombarded with information about all the things we could be doing, all the ways our society could be better, and all the potential catastrophes lurking around the corner. Climate change, economic instability, political polarization, wars, pandemics, and more. The sheer scale of our problems can feel paralyzing. Friedrich Nietzsche was a fierce critic of the naive belief in progress, arguing that it could lead to a slave morality where we value safety and comfort above all else, becoming docile and uncreative. I'll bet you've experienced this at work where nobody dares question the bad decisions of management just to protect their career, to avoid being put on an unrelated performance improvement plan. As a society, we can see this play out where we're so anxious about the potential negative consequences of any bold action that instead, we often opt for a state of managed decline, a kind of societal palliative care that stifles genuine change. This leads us into our second symptom on the list, misinterpreting or exaggerating events since we're seeing problems everywhere. As you may know, the term hypochondria originally emerged in the 18th century as an occupational disease of the affluent. Wealthy people with too much time on their hands would turn their attention inward, obsessively monitoring their bodies for any sign of illness. Some thinkers have concluded that our modern, very comfortable information environment has turned us into societal hypochondriacs, obsessively monitoring society for problems. After all, we're constantly bombarded with symptoms of our world sickness. Every breaking news alert, every social media post, every clickbait YouTube video, every alarming statistic is a potential sign of a deeper pathology. The problem is we're not always sure what we're diagnosing. Is that economic downturn a sign of a terminal illness in capitalism or a temporary seasonal flu? Is that political disagreement a healthy debate or the first sign of societal collapse? This is where information overload comes into play. We have more data than ever before, but less and less of a coherent narrative to make sense of it all. We're drowning in information, but starving for wisdom. We are, as the cultural theorist Neil Postman warned, amusing ourselves to death. But I'd add we're also informing ourselves to sickness. Our misinterpretation of symptoms is also fueled by what some social theorists call hyper-reflexivity. This is an extreme form of self-awareness where we are constantly analyzing ourselves and our society. We are no longer just living, we are perpetually observing ourselves living. This constant self-scrutiny can turn minor issues into major anxieties. It's like constantly taking your own temperature and worrying about every slight fluctuation. This leads into the third symptom, a burnout society brought about by perpetual self-diagnosis and self-criticism. In the past, societies were often defined by external prohibitions, thou shalt not. But the South Korean-German philosopher Byung-Chul argues that we now live in an achievement society. In his view, our mantra isn't, you can't, but you can. And if you can, you must, or else you're a dismal failure. This creates a culture of perpetual self-diagnosis and self-criticism. We are no longer just cogs in a machine, but we are entrepreneurs of the self, our own personal brand managers. We are constantly expected to be optimizing our bodies, our minds, our careers, our relationships. In short, we are our own biggest projects. And in this project of the self, we are relentlessly comparing ourselves to others by way of social media's panopticon of perfection. We are constantly exposed to the curated highlight reels of other people's lives, leading to what the literary critic Harold Bloom called an anxiety of influence. We feel the weight of all the people who are seemingly doing it better, who are more successful, more attractive, more together. Have you ever seen one of those day-in-the-life videos by an employee of a big tech firm showing off the amenities and relaxed work life there? Yeah, I bet that caused you some anxiety, right? This constant comparison fuels our industrial hypochondria. We look at our own lives and see only the deficiencies. We are our own harshest critics, forever diagnosing ourselves with a bad case of not enough. This leads to what Byung-Chul calls the burnout society. We are not exploited by an external master, but by our own internal drive for achievement. We are so busy diagnosing and treating our own perceived shortcomings that we exhaust ourselves. Burnout, in this sense, is the ultimate symptom of industrial hypochondria, the collapse of the self under the weight of its own impossible expectations. This brings us around to the fourth symptom on the list, the loss of agency, feeling powerless in the face of our own diagnosis, both in a personal and societal sense. After all this diagnosis we've done on ourselves and society at large, what's the prescription? The cure? Well, that's where we're coming up empty. The problems feel too big, the system's too complex, our own individual power too insignificant. We have diagnosed the illness, but we feel utterly incapable of administering the cure or even clearly defining it. This is a recurring theme in modern philosophy, the sense that we are no longer the authors of our own lives. We feel controlled by vast impersonal forces, the market, technology, the algorithm. This feeling of powerlessness is a breeding ground for apathy and despair. If we believe we can't change things, we stop trying. We retreat into our own private anxieties, further isolating ourselves and reinforcing the very conditions that created our industrial hypochondria in the first place. This is the ultimate paradox. We are more informed than any generation in history, more aware of the intricate workings of our world, and yet this very knowledge seems to have disempowered us. We're like a patient who has read every medical textbook but has no access to medicine. So are we doomed to be a society of anxious, self-doubting, burned-out hypochondriacs? Well, I hope we aren't. I think a lot of the cure lies with us as individuals. While perhaps the idea of positive thinking has been appropriated by the you must crowd, limiting your exposure to negative influences and being more intentional about your information consumption can help. It means resisting the urge to constantly compare ourselves to others. It means embracing the messy, imperfect reality of our lives and our world, rather than striving for an impossible ideal of perfection. Perhaps the antidote to industrial hypochondria isn't some kind of a grand top-down solution. Perhaps it's a quiet rebellion, a rebellion of being present in our own lives, of building genuine connections with the people around us, of finding meaning not in endless self-optimization, but in shared human experience. As the great philosopher Waylon Jennings put it in Luckenbach, Texas, maybe it's time we got back to the basics of love. What do you think? Do you see the symptoms of industrial hypochondria in yourself and the world around you? What are your strategies for navigating this age of anxiety? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video thought-provoking, please do the like and subscribe thing to help cure my own industrial hypochondria. Thanks for watching.